Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host. Let's get into this. So, hi guys, I hope all is well. No alien or periodic table talk this evening. However, the creator did come through with the message. Now, I've been receiving this cluster of downloads over the course of the last maybe 3 days. But the topic that I intended on discussing, the creator said no. He wanted me to go over something else, okay? So, yesterday we had this conversation about entities and different spirits being able to consume people's entire vessel. So much so that when it is casted out, it can kill the vessel. This will lead to the spirit being trapped, okay? Now, this is where vibrating high, fasting, believing, praying comes into faith. And although this may be odd, right? Some people who don't believe in God, their prayers still get answered, especially when their soul is trapped in some dark dimension, because their vessel or their soul perhaps was consumed by a lower vibrational entity. Now, when you are possessed or overthrown, for lack of better terms, by a higher dimension entity or spirit, it's a little bit harder and a lot more complex to... I just said the same thing, right? It's a little harder and it's complex. That means the same exact thing. But it's a little more tricky to shake off these entities, because we don't really necessarily need to, unless it's not in the alignment for us. Meaning, some people can steal someone's energy signature. Sometimes people can do things to steal out of the free energy. We talked about the free energy. Some people refer to it as cosmic energy. This is energy that's there. Even when we talked about people playing the lottery and things like that, this energy is just there for us to use to create and manifest. And some people sometimes go and take more than what they should, or they take energy that's not quite compatible with their current frequency or what's in alignment for them, right? What the creator has created specifically for them, for this dimension. So when you start thinking of, allowing yourself to be consumed, you have to learn how to become aware of your highest self. Now, a lot of people have different terms, and they make different references to these different levels of ourselves, but in reality there is a lot of different levels and layers to you, okay? And once you make the ultimate connection with the creator, you are close to tapping into yourself. But there is a distinction, okay? Your ultimate self is the self that the creator has drafted, okay? When he creates us, the ultimate version of ourselves is sitting in the ethers. It's sitting in the heavens. And then what happens is, as we mature, as we grow, as we start to have spiritual or karmic debt tacked on to our journeys, as we start to make choices that are out of alignment, as we start to veer off of what God wants for us, we start kind of pulling on that string, making it a little weaker, that connects us to our highest self. Your highest self is your ultimate self, the version of you that the Creator has created that is resting in the heavens, okay? We alter that. Life alters that. The frequency that starts to latch on to us as we are born. Once we come through the birth canal and we shoot out into this dimension, we're immediately confronted by lower dimensional frequencies. And if you come from a family that is low vibrational in nature, or if you're in a very low vibrational environment, if you have any depth from your past life that you just left, or another life that you just didn't get to clear up, if you have spells and cycles that need to be broken, all of these are factors that immediately bog down your frequency. Even as a newborn, yes, we're protected, but we still have work to do. And even when we come here as little small babies, we are definitely a part of this life experience that we have this debt to pay, right? So I just wanted to make sure the gist of this conversation is learning how to separate our highest selves from the Creator. And we've talked about, learning how to make the distinction between our ancestors, the enemies, our highest self, and God, right? This conversation is about the distinction between your highest self and the Creator. They're not the same. They're not intertwined. Both send messages and signals for our highest and greatest good, but the Creator can actually alter things. So let's just say if you feel like, sorry, a little distraction. I'm at work. But as we start to phase through the different cycles and we start to shed the lower vibrations that we have experienced or that we need to close off, if it's like connected to a portal that we've created or a cycle that one of our family members created, doesn't matter which side. Although the matriarch side is a little more pronounced in spiritual warfare, and we'll get to that. That's a whole different topic. But a lot of us don't realize that as we start to phase through and we start to shed and we come a little bit more closer to our highest self, your highest, not your higher, two different things, okay? Your highest self, and like I said, I like to make reference to the ultimate version of ourselves that is in the ethers as our highest self, because once we attain that, we're pretty much done. Our job here is done, and that takes several life cycles. You don't just come out one life cycle and complete everything that the Creator wants you to create, or unless you just shot straight from one realm to the next and the Creator has something in particular He wants to do with your energy, and then you're going back and you don't have to ever come back to this dimension again. This, and we talked about this also, how this dimension is a definite planet of reflecting, okay? So we come here to reflect on our lower selves. We come here to learn about how things look in the spiritual realm outside of ourselves. We don't get to see the spiritual realm while we're in it, right? It's just like knowing how you look without a mirror. You don't get to see it. You need the reflection in order to get an idea of how this thing is depicted. And coming to this dimension, is exactly the same. There's no difference. So I think the more we start to engage with our higher selves and the more we start to fast and pray, we'll start learning the difference between, because remember, your highest self is sitting alongside the Creator, okay? You're in the heavens on a different frequency with the Creator. And when you are sitting in that realm, right, you have been exposed to all of the greater things that the Creator has to offer you. But you have to put the work in for the manifestations to come protruding through the seal, right? Through the spiritual seal. And there's no particular order, right? I like to always use DMX as an example. A lot of people may look at him as rough and rugged, but when you look at him, when you hear him speak and you listen to his testimony, the battle has always been obvious and evident. Mike Tyson would be another one where people early on try to do things to throw these people into a different frequency, but the Creator is not having it, okay? And there's tons of different stories and people that I can use as examples, but I just like to use those two because the battle between the physical and the spiritual realms and the battle between good and evil in those different realms, right? Because we have good and evil in the physical, and then we have good and evil or dark and light in the spiritual, right? So you get to see how those things play out, right? You get to see how he's being tugged on by the lower vibrations here, where he is forced to use drugs, where he is deliberately put in the line of addiction. And then you can see where he's fighting off the urges to engage with that spirit. And then you can, same thing with Mike Tyson, the same exact thing, where both of these gentlemen were placed deliberately, and I'm assuming that the people that did that to them had these spirits, right, attached to them for them to even do this, because we're talking about grown ass people getting children addicted to drugs. So all of that plays a role. All of that is tied into what is connected to us in the spiritual realm, and that just so happens to manifest in the physical early on. So this is how you know it's something that's been going on for cycles and cycles and cycles. So if you don't take anything from this segment today, at least take away the idea that you are going to be able to make a distinction between your highest self and the voice of the Creator. And when I say your highest self, I mean the voice of your highest self, the things that the Creator wants for you and created you for, because we coexist and we co-create. The Creator will, give us A, and sometimes we'll skip B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, and just to get to P, right? And that's not to say that everything in between is not obtainable, or it's not theirs, it's not ours for the taking. It's not there for us to grab. But when we get to a point where we understand who we are, and even before that, when we start learning that we can co-create with the universe, that we are powerful spirits having this human experience. Once we start learning that, we start making crazy decisions, and sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves, right? So it's very important to be able to make the distinction between the two. Go into the spirit, find out who you are, what's your name in the spirit, and find out what God is leading you to do. All right. But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. Hope y'all been drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. Love y'all. Peace.